I have been away for a bit, so it's wonderful to be back. Hey, Ellie. So many of you know of Ellie Laks if you are in the world of animal rights, because she is co-founder of the Gentle Barn Sanctuary, or actually sanctuaries. There's one in LA, one in Nashville, one in St. Louis. So she has had over 25 years experience up close and personal with animals. Now, usually in our special spiritual guest segment, we talk with someone about their spiritual tradition, usually in a recognizable religion. This is going to be a little bit different because the religion of the animals is yet to be named. But Ellie's first teacher actually was Buddha. So, Ellie, tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Um, all right, Buddha is amazing. She's actually behind my right shoulder as we speak. She's always behind me. Um, I have dreamt of the Gentle Barn since I was 7 because I knew in the core of my soul and in every fiber of my being that we're all the same. We're not different. We all kind of come into form and out of form, but we're all the same. So I am so excited to be here today. Buddha was my first cow, and I knew I was going to love her the same way that I would love every single animal that has come through the Gentle Barn since its inception. I knew she was very special that very first day, on that first open to the public Sunday, where people would gather and visit the animals. And because it was Buddha's first Sunday, I didn't know if she was going to be timid or scared or unsure. And I was at the ready to protect her and reassure her if necessary. And she boldly stepped right into the middle of the crowd, laid down, and beckoned everyone to pet her and brush her. My jaw fell to the floor as I watched this incredible being know exactly what our work was and how she was opening hearts. Later that evening, I had undergone a very, very long and stressful day. Of course, trying to get the Gentle Barn up off the ground, there were a lot of factors, right? So the people that were coming in, the animals that we were saving and rescuing and rehabilitating, the money that we needed to raise, there was a lot going on. And I sat down beside her at bedtime just to connect with her. And she wrapped her neck around me and held me and took me by surprise. I've had animals follow me and hold still for me and love me, but I've never had an animal act like my mother and actually hold me when I was stressed. And she held me like that for an hour, and I wept onto her shoulder. And I came to need those hugs every single day. And weeks later, I realized that the world needed those hugs too. And we rolled out what has come to be known as cow hug therapy at the Gentle Barn, where for the last 25 years, people from around the world, no matter what they're going through, can come and have those incredible, extraordinary embraces. And I think it was in that moment that Buddha really showed me the intelligence, the intuition, the healing grace that animals have for us.
And now it's all in your wonderful book, Cow Hug Therapy, How the Animals at the Gentle Barn Taught Me About Life, Death, and Everything in Between. So these are stories of animal teachers. Very often, I think that people like us, people who would be attracted to the Compassion Consortium, we read about animals, we read about the difficulties that animals have, we read about people who try to save them. But very seldom do we get a chance to see them from the point of view that you're writing about, which is animal as healer. And on this special Day of the Gurus, truly animals as gurus. So tell us where having a relationship with these special other than human beings fits into a human spiritual life.
I think these animals have so much to teach us and so many ways to heal us when we're looking with wide eyes wide open and hearts wide open, when we're connecting and really looking at what we're seeing. Sure, I think in a world when we're looking at animals as commodities or food or clothing, that's what we're going to see. But I'm sure everyone on here today sees animals with those wide open hearts to see who they really are and what they have to teach us. And my greatest teachers have always been animals. They teach us to meditate. Animals of all kinds always make time in their day to sit in the stillness and the quiet and get centered and grounded. It's not something that I was raised with. It's not something that I was ever taught, but it's something that the barnyard revealed to me when I opened the Gentle Barn in 1999. Those animals always took time for pause. They always took time to connect with their higher selves. And watching that, it drew me in, and I wanted to experience that bliss as well. And it's Buddha and the other animals at the Gentle Barn that actually taught me how to meditate and be still, to get grounded and centered, and to find myself. And the more I found myself among the animals, the louder my intuitive voice became, the quicker I was able to make decisions, the more I was guided. And so it expanded me exponentially to be able to do my work and to find myself. Animals on a daily basis at the Gentle Barn teach about surrender and gratitude. We have rescued so many animals from the most horrific circumstances. And yes, they suffer, they're in pain, they're in fear, they have a lot of forgiveness and a lot of healing work to do. But the vast majority of them come into the Gentle Barn not with complaints, but with gratitude. Gratitude for the fresh food they get to eat for the first time, the clean water, the gentle hands, meeting us and realizing that we're different from the human beings they've met so far. They're so full of gratitude, and they really model that gratitude practice. I realized early on in my work that I had a choice to make. I could focus on the horrific, dark deeds of human beings that we were encountering, and the suffering that animals go through, or I could focus on the resilience. I could focus on the volunteers and the staff that were coming to the Gentle Barn to help us do the work. I could focus on the miracles and the blessings that these animals get second chances. And it really created in me a gratitude practice that I practice every single day, that I don't let my mind wander to the darkness and the evil, but I let my mind focus on the joy and the goodness and the peace and the resilience that exists in every animal that I've ever met. They also teach me about surrender. There are things we can control and things that we need to let go of. There are times to move our feet, and then there's time to let the universe, spirit, and God come and take over. And animals do that so remarkably well.
So tell us a little bit about cow society and also about the cow daily routine. I know meditation is a part of that.
I have come to believe that cows are everything that we should be and will be once we awaken fully to love. They are a matriarchal society led by the oldest and wisest female. And she doesn't rule by force. She rules with intuition, with kindness, with love, with connection, with collaboration, with communication. And she really bonds and connects to all members of her family and knows them intimately. They are vegan. They harm no one. They are a living legacy of peace and kindness. They are very aware of their environment, and their teeth and feet are designed to leave a pasture better off than when they found it. So they don't come and destroy on their way. They come and actually make the pasture better for them being there. They face their challenges head on, so they don't run away or panic when there are challenges. They lower their head, they look at their challenge, and they figure out a way around it or through it. They are 100% inclusive. So we have many animal species at the Gentle Barn, from horses down to little teeny chickens and ducks and turkeys and llamas and pigs and cows. And all the other animals, when we rescue a new member, their first instinct is to ostracize and to push away. And sometimes it could be violent and scary. And we have a very slow and long process to integrate that new animal in with their new family. Cows are our only species at the Gentle Barn when we get a new member of the family. There's no introduction period at all. We just bring the cow into the pasture and everybody says, hi, welcome. And that new member of is an integrated part of the family within 5 minutes. They're 100% inclusive, and whether you're a human or another cow or another animal, as long as you're gentle, you are welcome. They meditate every single day. And family is their most treasured value. They care deeply about one another and go to great lengths to protect and to nurture each other. And I've seen them do absolutely magnificent and beautiful, miraculous things to celebrate birth and to honor somebody passing that I write about in my book.
Oh, that's so lovely. So I know that animals are intuitive. How can those of us who interact with animals in our homes, in our work or our outreach, how can we be more intuitive with them?
So first of all, I think that every single living being on this planet, including human beings, are intuitive. And I think that we've gotten taught and disciplined away from it. So, but if you look at all the other members of the animal kingdom, they all operate on intuition, and so do we. And so it's not a learning how to be intuitive, it's a returning and a remembering. So that's number one. We have to acknowledge that we are intuitive beings and we just need to return to it. The second thing that I would highly recommend is a daily meditation practice. When we are able to meditate every single day, sit in the stillness and the quiet and return to self, that's where the answers are. That's where the intuition lies. That's where we can really hear and feel and connect with one another more deeply than with words or with our eyes open. And so cultivating a daily meditation practice allows us to be more intuitive and more connected, and to recognize that still small voice when it comes. The third thing is I would recommend that people adopt a vegan lifestyle, because when we're eating gently and when we resonate with the energy of gentleness, then we're able to open up to everyone and not be closed off.
So you have so many great stories in the book. I love the quote from Moby. He says that this book, Cow Hug Therapy, helps us all fall more deeply in love with animals, life, and ourselves. And I would certainly echo that. So among the other animal people that you talk about in the book is somebody named Buttercup, who's also pretty special. Can you share that story?
Buttercup taught me a huge life lesson and changed the way that we walk animals home at the Gentle Barn forever. She came from an extreme cruelty case, and she welcomed our nurturing and healing. And then, unbeknownst to us, she was pregnant when we took her in. And so she ended up having a baby a few months later, who was born very small and weak and with underdeveloped lungs. Because he was at Sanctuary, we were able to work round the clock with our staff and volunteers to allow him to nurse and teach him how to walk till he grew big and strong. But he only lived 7 months. And I was trying everything that I could in the nursery with Buttercup and Halo to give him the best vet care, the greatest energy healing, trying everything I could to resuscitate this baby so that he could stay with his mom. And his mom was much wiser than I was. And instead of panicking and kind of trying so desperately to find an answer, she very quietly sat next to her son, whispered in his ear that it was okay to go, told him it was okay. And she literally groomed him and loved him while he took his last breath and passed away. And she taught me in that moment that when a loved one is passing away, it's not our turn to be sad or scared or desperate. We have to give our entire courage, our entire heart, and our entire focus on supporting that loved one so they can cross over peacefully and easily. And then we can have our feelings about it later, like Buttercup did after her son passed away.
That is such a profound story. As is what you said about meditating. We think of the things that are taken away from animals in conventional situations, factory farming and so forth. And we don't think that in addition to the basic dignities that we're taking away their spiritual life or
Yes.
trying to do that. So people who work with animals, and there are many of those present here, experience something that you have, and that is compassion fatigue. I know we had another conversation, and you talked about people who do this wonderful work as being sometimes riddled with hopelessness. So, what does somebody do in a situation like that?
So I think the first step is to identify compassion fatigue because it is a silent killer and you won't know it hit you until you've quit your job or ruined your marriage. It creeps up on you and it's so hard to identify. At least the first time I suffered compassion fatigue, I didn't know what was happening. But it was awful. And it took me months and months and months to recover. So I've become very adept at identifying when I'm feeling compassion fatigue. And just the identification of it alone can help bring back some of the hopelessness to keep going. The other thing about compassion fatigue is as caregivers, as empaths, as intuitives, as people that give every ounce of our being away to others, when we're in crisis and we are on our knees with compassion fatigue, we don't usually have someone to turn to. And so it's really, really important for all caregivers and rescuers and healers and lovers of humans and animals for us to kind of put together a toolbox so that when we're in crisis, we don't have to think about it. It's already prepared for us. And so what I've done is I have a little toolbox where I have written the names of my therapists, my energy healers, my best friends, the people that I can turn to when I'm in crisis. So that's number one. That's really, really important that everyone know where their number is and who to call so that you don't feel alone. The second thing is I've written down the 5 things that make me happy and bring joy to my life that are affordable and easy to do. Because when we're suffering compassion fatigue and we're feeling hopeless, we stay stuck. I personally, when I'm feeling compassion fatigue, I get into a fetal position on the floor or in my bed and I can't move. But when I have that list of the 5 simple, easy things that I love that resuscitate me, I can pull out that list. I can choose to do one. And in doing one of the things, it will make me feel lighter and better. So my 5 things are walking in nature, meditating, being in the barnyard, spending time with a very, very close friend, someone who knows me the best, and a bubble bath. But create your own list of the 5 things that restore joy in your life and have them written down in your toolbox so that when you're in crisis, you can do those things and it'll pull you out of the depths of despair. And then the last thing is when I'm suffering compassion fatigue, it's really hard to even acknowledge that I've done anything because I'm staring at the face of the issues and the problems. I'm looking at all that has yet to be done. And it's hard for me to even acknowledge that I've done anything. So I've written down the top things that I've done up until now so that when I'm suffering compassion fatigue, I can at least see, okay, all right, I've done something. I've done some good work. I've done some good things. Now I need to keep going. It's a reminder that change doesn't happen in a day and progress is slow moving, but we have done things and we need to continue doing them. The world needs empaths and caregivers now more than ever. And so when we're in the grasp of compassion fatigue, we have to be able to recognize it, heal it, and keep going so that we can keep giving.
Well, thank you. And one of the things that comes up for me that's very helpful is a really good book. And one of those is Cow Hug Therapy. So I hope that you'll all take a look. Thank you so much, Ellie, for being with us today at the Compassion Consortium. If you can stay for fellowship after, I know that the people in your group would feel really, really lucky. And if you have to go on and do other wonderful things in the world, we understand that too. All the best.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Moving on.